Are you ready to unlock the secrets for Amazon PPC in 2025? Today, we're going to be talking about all of the top things you should be looking at going into Q1 of 2025 and how you can best manage your PPC for the best performance that you can imagine on Amazon. 2025 is going to be much different than any year prior. And this year, we're going to really hone in on some very specific areas to make sure that you have the best PPC strategy for your products moving forward. So, if you're ready, let's hop right on in. Some of the biggest changes are actually happening on Amazon PPC in 2025. First and foremost, there is increased competition as there is any year. You should always be prepped for that increased competition. That's going to do things like raise your bids up more than they typically were, make you spend more. Costs can be a little bit higher, and overall, just a bit more of a competitive landscape on Amazon. Secondarily, we're also going to be looking at some new advanced targeting techniques. These techniques came out in 2024, but really are going to shine in 2025 now that you and everyone else are going to be looking at them for what to be using to try and grow most you can. And then finally, we're going to focus on relevance and quality around the actual advertising you're doing, whether that's something like sponsored brand and display or something as simple as what are your relevant keywords you're going after. These are some visibility factors that we're really going to be looking at when we're diving into all of the things you can in Amazon PPC. Next on that as well, we're going to introduce some things around small automation tools and AI-driven insights for some campaign optimization. Now, that's not saying that we should necessarily always rely on AI, but there are some cool new features Amazon has that you should at least take a look at to see if it's something worth utilizing at the end of the day. And then finally, we're going to really focus in 2025 on brand building. Brand building is going to be your crucial step to really elevating yourself above the other competition that you have on Amazon and really show what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to grow, not as a product, but as a full-on brand. So these are going to be our kind of major areas that we want to focus on in the first part of our kind of understanding of what 2025 PPC on Amazon is going to look like. But with all of these changes happening and everything else on the Amazon platform, how can sellers truly know and how to take advantage of them and make the most use of everything that's happening in Amazon's landscape? Well, stay tuned. We're going to dive into each one of these different sections and how you can best utilize them. So why is Q1 so critical for PPC on Amazon? It's actually really simple. You're essentially setting the stage for the entirety of the year. This means increased consumer shopping. So typically we're going to see a major dive in the first couple of weeks, unless you're in a category such as supplements, gym, health, fitness, all of that. But outside of those categories, you're going to see a major dip, but then it's going to go ramping right back up. So really in the first Q1, you're kind of setting the stage with how consumers are spending. It can really help you boost your overall ranking throughout the entire rest of the year. Secondarily to that as well, there's going to be some reduced competition because, again, people are typically knowing that in the first few weeks, it's going to drop immensely. So one of the major things you need to be looking at is how other sellers and your competitors are kind of taking away some of the keywords they're doing, taking away some of their budget, their bids. Is that something that necessarily makes sense? No, actually, it's one of those things that firm believer in the idea that you should always be trying to increase your overall relevance and your overall ranking towards keywords. And Q1 is going to be a great time to take that ranking from your competitors because they are not going to be doing that. And that's when you can really swoop in, start kind of eating up a lot of that rank. Now, third on the list as well for why it's so critical in Q1 would be you're setting the stage early. So as I kind of said before already, yes, Q1 is the start of the year, and you can end up having your ranking overall on Amazon really boosted up over the course of the entire year just by kind of putting a lot of your strategy into Q1 alone. This means having more sales than your competitors, increasing those relevant keyword rankings, and just overall having enough of a boost in the first part of the year that can carry you throughout the rest of the year and into your busy seasons if this is not going to be your busy season. And finally, the biggest aspect to this is the seasonal opportunities. If you are a product that either does anything in winter or early spring, Q1 is your golden hour. This is going to be the time in which you want to try and increase the amount of budget you're using, increase the amount of spend you have, and overall try and get as many relevant keywords out there as possible. Again, your ranking in Q1 is something that can drastically increase just because other people aren't trying to focus as heavily on it. So if If you're a more seasonal product, even something in summer, this is going to be a time in which you want to actually increase your overall bids and budgets to try and get as much of that ranking back from your competitors as possible. Have some of that seasonality come into play where people are starting to think about it, but it's not true season for your actual product yet, but it should be soon enough. So these are kind of the major reasons we do really want to focus on Q1 strategy and what we can do for Q1 strategy moving forward. Overall, you can be looking at Q1 essentially as a way to get a competitive edge over everyone else. This is where you're going to really get into that early market capture of the entirety of the year. So if you can start to capture your seasonality market sooner than your competitors can, this will end up boosting you and give you that kind of competitive edge you really need. And that's the only thing you can really do when it comes to advertising, is you really need to just get yourself situated above the others and ahead of the rest of the pack, and it will make it a lot easier come spring, summer, fall, winter to really see that impact make a difference. So if you can use Q1 to really boost you forward, then you absolutely should. Secondarily to that would be your brand awareness. It's a brand new year. People are always trying new things. They want to always have something reliable that they go back to. So if you have any form of desire to have your brand be built up a little bit, Q1 is actually the time of the year in which you are going to see the most impact and effect on that, especially in your advertising strategy. Typically speaking, I would always recommend post-holidays to be running things like a sponsored brand campaign, because that's going to be the time in which people are using things like gift cards. People are looking for new products they may not normally purchase themselves, but guess what? They have a gift card, so they're more likely to purchase it. And that's where something like a sponsored brand is going to come in huge for you. Sponsored brand will help you essentially elevate your overall awareness and also help you actually build a story brand on Amazon. And then finally, some practical tips around that would be focusing on the low hanging fruit competition. This is going to be a major area that I see people constantly missing out on. Is you definitely are going to have some new people in the ring who came in sometime around Q4. Maybe they gained some ranking thanks to Q4 sales. Maybe they're kind of priced a little bit lower than you are. Anything like that, those are what I'm going to be considering low hanging fruit competition. This is likely their first ever Q1. So it's going to be their first ever holiday dip. They don't know how to handle it, but you do. That is the purpose of trying to go after them, is to try and make sure that they don't take any more market share post holidays than they already have. It's going to be something where maybe they're not even doing anything outside of Q4. So this will be a perfect time for you to come in, swoop in, do some competitive targeting, and get that ranking back from them very simply and very easily. And then as well, I'm always going to be talking about maximizing your ROI on it, right? So the biggest thing there is make sure you're kind of aligned with the biggest categories in Q1. So things like health and fitness, things like sports nutrition, supplements, all of these are huge Q1 movers. And so if you have anything within that realm of targeting, you need to be doubling down on Q1 advertising to really see the biggest impact that you can throughout the year. This is something I'm always going to be encouraging everyone to do. So absolutely go ahead and double down on both your overall bidding and budget strategies if you're in those categories. If you really want to dominate in 2025, the best piece of advice I can give to anyone is going to be to really hone in, focus on these first couple of months. Really make sure that you're building your brand. Make sure that you are adding things like a sponsored brand campaign for that to really boost up where you're currently at. Secondarily, that really hone in on what are your relevant targeting keywords. If this is not a season for you that you typically would see a lot of high seasonality, this is the time to be actually doubling down on your most relevant keywords to see if you can take as much market share in the low season as possible, because that means that in the high season, during your peak seasonality of your product, you're going to be higher ranked, you're going to get more organic traffic, you're going to get more paid traffic, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to take out many of the competitors that you already have. So if you are like me, you are going to focus very heavily on Q1 this year, and you are going to be very focused in on the idea of your competition, because there's a lot of new competition in just the last 12 months alone, as well as getting your actual brand out there and building more of a brand story on Amazon using your advertising. Q1 isn't just another quarter. It's your launch pad for the entire rest of the year of 2025. Use this year to nail down what your overall strategy is going to be, launch yourself for your high seasonality of your product, and use this as a building block for the rest of 2025. This is the perfect time to be doubling down on all of your top strategies to be able to actually dominate all of your competition. So hopefully, if you take a few of these in, you're going to have some great ideas going into 2025. You're going to have some great Q1 strategies. We're going to be coming out with new episodes every couple of days for your Q1 PPC strategies. So if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe down below, and watch for more of our Q1 PPC strategies.